The next item, 7, discussion item. This was brought to us, I believe, initially by Commissioner Lee, and I understand that they are here. Is that correct?
My light's not coming. Oh, sorry. Is there anyone here from El Tequila?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I believe we'll need to have the sheriff department come forward and read their report if that's
All right.
okay.
All right.
I'll defer to Lieutenant Tom Walker. He's been fielding the complaints for this case.
Thank you. Lieutenant Walker, if you could give your name and residence, please.
Yeah, my name is Tom Walker. I'm a lieutenant with the Knox County Sheriff's Office Environmental Crimes Unit. Basically, what I've gotten is complaints from our patrol officers about fights and stuff that have happened at El Tequila Bar that they've had to respond to. I pulled the 911 call sheet, and they've had 31 calls for service there since July 1st of this year, and this sheet went through November 10th. Most of them are for disturbance and fight calls, 2 medical calls, a bunch of thefts. The biggest issue we had was on November 2nd of 2022. Our entire night shift had to respond to they called it a riot. There were so many people fighting in the parking lot that we had to pull our entire night shift into the area to take care of the people who were fighting. Multiple arrests were made. We had officers assaulted. Have a use of force report that I've submitted to the board. While the officers were there dealing with it, they saw children, obviously under the age of 15, is how they put it in the report, to include kids in strollers being pushed out of the bar during the fight. After everything got calmed down and they actually got everybody out of there, they interviewed the bouncers, and they said that they have fights there every night that they are open, and most of them are not reported to the police. So the reports and the calls for service that we have are just a fraction of what's gone on at El Tequila in the last year.
Before, if I may, Commissioner Lee, Director Book, would you advise this board on any action that could be taken?
I think the permittee or co-permittee has a right to respond to that.
All right. Would you like to respond to those charges?
Que si quieres responder de lo que el policía dijo de todas las peleas que hay, la cantidad de peleas que hay en el restaurante.
Luego les repito, o sea, sí hubo esas peleas allá afuera, pero no como lo están diciendo. La seguridad que le digo es precisamente porque no estaba haciendo su trabajo, por eso lo despedí. Por eso lo despedí, pero ahora vamos a organizar mucho mejor, lo cual ya lo estoy arreglando, ya lo arreglé. Eso sí es cierto, pero
Mr. Castanedas would like to express the fact that he understands and very much is committed to step up the security of the establishment and prevent from a lot of these issues to happen. He said he's got 3 people in the parking lot area, and he has 4 people inside, in which is upgraded for the establishment and what can happen and cannot happen. One of the folks that he was let go is the one who's been really saying a lot of stuff that's quite not true. So he just wants to make sure that he understands and lets everybody know that he takes it very seriously and that he's make sure to stepping up so that this will not happen again.
Director Book?
The beer ordinance provides that the permittee shall not permit disorderly and unruly behavior on or about the premises, and he shall maintain an orderly establishment. It further goes, and this is at section 4-12, subsection O, says the board may revoke or suspend any permit for sale of beer for consumption on premises if in the operation, management, and control the permittee allows any minor to loiter, that's a bit vague, such place of business, and the burden of ascertaining the age of the minor shall be upon the permittee. I point out right now that you've got a problem there because you go into a restaurant that's on premises and kids go in all the time with their parents. It's more of a parental issue. This goes more toward delinquent, well, I don't want to say delinquent, but children, teenage types that are hanging around hoping they could get some beer. That's the way I read that. Goes on at subsection P, the board shall revoke the permit of any permittee who operates or allows his establishment to be operated in a disorderly manner. It shall be a prima facie evidence that a permittee's establishment is being operated in a disorderly manner if disorderly conduct chronically occurs on the premises. If there's any breach of the peace or unusual disturbance on the premises, or if there is evidence that any violation of law has occurred. That section would be the one that would be more applicable than a kid in a stroller, because a kid in a stroller could be in any other place of business. Sir?
Sir, if I could also make a point that this report happened at 1 o'clock in the morning. That's when the children were being pushed out in strollers, so I'm not seeing it being a restaurant open that late.
Well, under our code, they could stay open if on sale premises until 3 a.m.
Right.
State says midnight, but state also allows the counties to change that up to 3 a.m., which this county did a long time ago.
Yeah.
Bottom line is this, this is a due process issue with that proof you presented. If El Tequila, is that it?
Yes, sir.
El Tequila is, as we talked about before, summoned before this board in January. This board has the authority upon hearing all the evidence to revoke the permit of any permittee if this board finds that it's in violation of the statute. I don't think this is a discussion item tonight. I'm glad it's before the board, and might suggest that we do the same thing with El Tequila and summon them before this board for a hearing, a due process hearing in January, if that's what this board desires.
I'll make a motion for that.
All right. Commissioner Jay, if I may have some discussion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sheriff's Office, was this a one-time, one-night occurrence, or were there multiple occurrences over multiple time periods?
There's been 31 calls for service since January 1st of this year.
Just since January, okay.
Yeah. And then, according to their bouncers, they have fights every night that are not reported because they just don't call the police when they're fighting.
I think it would be a good idea to also include that in January. I'll second the motion if somebody wants to make it.
All right. Commissioner Lee? Would you like to go ahead and make a motion?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'll make the motion that we put that on the agenda for January.
Summons.
And the summons, to do the summons as well.
All right. So we have a motion by Lee and Commissioner Day. You still have a second on that? All right. Mr. Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You said there was 31 incidents since, at first I think you said July, but now you're saying January?
Yes, sir. If I said July, I misspoke. It was January 1st
so
of this year.
January 1st.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea how many of those occurred after midnight?
Only 2 happened before midnight. The rest are midnight or later.
And then, did not Pigeon Forge just recently lower the requirement? They went from 3 a.m. to 1 a.m. that you had to close by 1 a.m.?
That I'm not familiar with that one, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner, they did.
They did? Okay. Thank you.
If Mr. Castañeda could say a word.
Certainly.
Mr. Castañeda is saying that he dismissed a person that was helping with the security back in June, and he just wanted to know if you guys know who is actually calling, because one of the threats that he gave Mr. Castañeda was that he'll make sure to shut you down. and he'll make sure to make all the calls. So he just wants to know if you'll know who's making those calls, or just question.
That's a discussion that will need to happen between now and your appearance next month, between him and certainly inquiry with the sheriff's department, or he may want to get an attorney in this matter. That's his decision to make at this point. As far as any further discussion, I hear our law director saying we've been advised to just wait until the charge is formal and that you are summoned to come in. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business to come before this board?
Do they understand what's going on, that we're going to summons them to the January meeting?
It sounds like they're doing that right now. Thank you. All right. Hold on. Oh, thank you.
General, see if they're here.
Thank you. Thank you for that reminder, Commissioner Daly. A recall again on Dollar General. Is anyone from Dollar General here?
Mr. Revege, did you have something, you look like you had something else you wanted to add?
Que diga algo decirle a ellos.
No, yo más lo que le quiero decir es de que den la otra oportunidad, pues, voy a tratar de corregir todo lo que está hecho, mientras que no me nieguen mi licencia. Yo estoy tratando de corregir todo como debe de ser. No he tenido problema ni con menores ni con el mundo, simplemente ha sido despido que he hecho por gente que no quieren hacer bien su trabajo.
Mr. Castañeda is saying that he would like to just be able to have an opportunity to speak to everybody at some point. And I understand from the sheriff department that he'll have that opportunity.
Yes,
to make
that's
sure we have
correct.
a plan.
Next
To
month,
make sure
yes.
that you all feel comfortable as far as what the new implementations that he's going to be doing, and make sure puts a plan together so that everybody understands that he's committed to make sure that that will never happen again.
Please assure him that he will have his due process next month when he comes and appears. Seeing nothing else, your board is adjourned.